Hey y'all, I'm at it again. Got the original rat, and I wanted to reduce this volume range right here. Instead of going from right in here, if I could use this range like that, I need to be able to reduce the volume when the distortion's kicked in. So here it is in bypass, and then with it on. And that's kind of your standard distortion, 12 o'clock. But then when you crank it up like this, it starts to get super loud compared to your clean, so then you got to turn it down. If you turn this up, you really got to turn it down. Then you got just this little range right in here, right? So what I did, took the pot off the board and wired it all up the same way. Like the left lug is green, that's on the left. The right lug is black on the right. And the center lug is white. I've got it going through this green wire, basically bypassed. So this is all the original wiring. I'm gonna unclip this alligator. So we got the center lug going over to this 47K resistor and then back over to the center, and it cuts down the range on the pot. So here's where we were with like the middle beginning range, and it cuts it down a whole lot. So when you're in that range, you can still run it up like that, and you still have plenty of loudness. But then when you go to crank up distortion like that all the way, now instead of like down here, you've got this range in here. Like compared to this. I could even go higher like that. Like it can get loud, yeah. And of course, when you put the highs back in, yeah, it's like loud. So you got a good range like this. So that is the rig. That is the plan. So I may not put a switch on this one, but I've got the new Black RAT, and I want to take the pot off of this one and see if it all works the same, like putting the 47K on the center lug and then put a switch on the side. So we'll see how that goes. All right, I'm back at it here. Opened up the Black RAT, got into the guts again. And if you want to look in the description, I've got the other video with the high cut project. But this is volume here and the filter and distortion. So on this volume pot, just like the other rat, I got in here on that middle lug. I'll show you in a zoom in here. I was able to cut that middle lug there and solder wires on there. I need to insulate those, but for now it works. I was able to get a screwdriver in there and pry it out just a little bit to where I could get a hold of it with some dikes, like these little custom sharp dikes, and snipped it and then bent it up, because taking the pot off the board was going to be a headache. And as you can see, there's not really any traces. You'd have to take this apart, which would really be a headache. So I'm just going to sacrifice and clip the middle lug there. So I got that. So I've got the black wire here on the top going over to a black alligator clamp, and the other end of that black is going to the 47K resistor. I got this green wire going back over to the green wire that goes back over to the pot. I know this is a mess. So here's the clean sound. And then I want to show you the original amount of gain. So I'm going to just bypass this with another clamp where it's connecting the black and the green back together. So clean sound. And here's with about 75% clean on the filter, and then these average like this. You know, you get down here to try to control your volume. Yeah, it's pretty good like that. But then if you get up in here, it is really loud. But then when you crank up this one all the way, it becomes super loud, and you got to crank it down here if you want to have some. You know, especially on your high strings, they get super loud. So that's what I'm talking about, that small range right down in there. So then I'm going to take the clamp off. I'll just go back to clean sound. Take the bypass off to where I'm now going through the resistor over here. And you still have the original clean. Then when you go into this setting, yeah, it's hardly anything. So starting over about average here, like this, you could hear not as much volume. I'm going to bypass this real quick. That's the original rig, and this is going through the resistor. So with this, you still have plenty of volume. And then when you crank up distortion, you know, you got this range in here, and you can even go up here and still get super loud compared to your clean sound. But then that range that was right down in there, it's like super low. You know, of course you wouldn't be there, but at least now you have this range. Where you have a lot more range to work with. Bypass. See what I mean? So that is what I found, and that's going to work. So I'm going to rig up a micro switch like I had, like this guy, and I might put it over here and even maybe cut off the handle a bit to where I'm not going to be able to switch it off very easy. Because if you're in this mode with the resistor and it flips back to normal mode like this, all of a sudden it's going to get super loud, right? I got the hole drilled here, and I had to do the pilot hole and then step it up so that'll fit in. And here's the roadmap. I had to redo this about 4 times, but I wanted to have the black go to the center, and then I want the green going through the resistor to where when I click it this way towards me, it'll engage kind of like the filter switch, and then when it goes this way, it'll connect over here and it goes back on the bypass over around to normal. So I wanted to show you here, I've got some shrink wrap on here. There's another one inside that's going to go on the pot, and this big one's going to go over this whole thing. This is that junction, and then the small piece will go on that side. I got a piece here that'll go on the black, shrink wrap in the middle, and shrink wrap over there. So I think I got it right. Let's see what the next step is. I decided to set up the switch just going down instead of this way because I thought I don't have a way to block it that way. And this way, it'd have more of a tendency to just push it down instead of pulling it up for the normal version. So going down is where the volume cut kicks in. Note to self, I tried to hacksaw this off after I had it mounted, and it fried the whole switch mechanism. I thought maybe because it was so fragile on the inside, but it's actually the spring on the inside goes up through the whole handle, you know. Here's the warning sign. Don't lift that switch. All right, here it is on the board. Got it in vintage and no cut, and then just everything straight up. This is clean with some long delay. And if we kick it in like this, so that's a pretty even match there, wouldn't you say? Then you get all this. Then you have all this range in here. Like from clean to 45 degrees. That's pretty quiet. And then clean on the other 45. That's pretty loud. But conveniently, where the switch is down here, I got my cable covering that, so I probably won't have a tendency of clicking it up. I'm going to click it up just to go back to normal mode with no volume cut. And here's what you'd have. Not bad, but you know, you'd probably want to be down here for the evenness of it, like from clean to this. Like in with no cut, it's pretty good there. And then if you do the cut, it's about the same. But you have that better range right in there, you know. And then with this scenario, we're originally without the volume cut, with all the skronk, had that little range right there. Then with the volume cut, so you can see you got that range right there. So that is the deal.